internet, and welcome to the first episode of the brand new and exciting JK Podcast. I'm Jeremy, and this is Kat.
Hello.
And we are your hosts for an evening of fun and delight. Or, listen whenever you feel like it. Doesn't have to be the evening. We're going to be going through some films and, just things that we saw recently. So first up, we've got Secret Life of Pets. Then we're getting a bit more artsy. We're talking about Climax and Mandy. And then for some kind of more satirical political comedy, we've got Dr. Strangelove and Death of Stalin, which are both excellent. And then to finish up, we've got a challenge, which is Kat's going to be trying to reconstruct the plot of the film The Meg, which she fell asleep during, and we're going to see if we can come up with something even better than The Meg as it currently exists. So first up is Secret Life of Pets. Let's go with that.
Why did we watch it? Because you thought there'd be a review of it that we could watch afterwards. Was that why you decided to?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Like I figured that I thought there was an IHE review of it, so I was like, let's watch that film because it looks kind of dumb, and I've seen Despicable Me and a bunch of the other Illumination ones, and I just wanted to kind of like crap on it a bit, and also I heard it was a rip-off of Toy Story, so I wanted to see how much of a rip-off of Toy Story it was.
Yeah, and I was down for it because I wanted something not very heavy.
Yep.
And just nice and child-friendly and fun, and I was like, well, I didn't have high hopes for it, actually. It's making out like I did, but I was just like, fine. But it was weird and dark, and it just made me angry.
It made you angry?
It was unpleasant. It was an unpleasant experience.
It was an unpleasant experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I knew it was like part of Illumination and stuff like that, but I haven't watched any of them. And they did the Lorax, and they did Despicable Me.
I haven't seen the Lorax.
And all that. I have never seen Despicable Me. Have you?
Yeah, I just said that 5 minutes ago.
I wasn't listening.
Wow. What a great start.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you did actually. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I feel like if I wanted to like have the Lorax as a medium and just a thing and consume that, I would just read the book by the
It
Dr.
wouldn't
Seuss
take you
book.
90 minutes to read it.
Yeah, I would rather just read a Dr. Seuss book if that's really what I wanted to do. So yeah, it's pretty weird right from the start of the film, isn't it? So you have...
Well, it's... I don't know, like, the animation for, like, I straight away said, like, New York, it looks pretty. It looked really pretty. Like, in terms of, the trees are nice, the team clearly worked hard on this bit, making, like, the buildings look cool and stuff, and I was like, this is nice, because this just be a screensaver, and I'll just watch this.
It's a bit manipulative, though, isn't it? It's like New York, Empire State Building, Central Park, Statue of Liberty.
Well, I don't know why everything needs to be set in New York, but, everything that needs to be set in New York if it's like a lighting.
Dreams? Is that New York? Or is that Chicago?
That's the Windy City.
What's the Windy City?
Chicago.
Oh, right. That's the cold city. That's where the toilets explode.
Yes.
The exploding toilet city.
Because of the ice.
Because of the ice.
Yes.
The Ice Age killed the dinosaurs.
Okay.
Have you not seen Batman and Robin?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, and he's like, he has all the ice puns.
Yeah, they're great.
What's his name? It's not Frozone.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Frozone is Incredibles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I felt bad for the animation team who might have been separate, who were doing the cityscape and everything like that, because they seem quite good. Or I don't know. Maybe it's something that they've reused a few times in other things.
Maybe they just watched a bunch of other films that had establishing shots of New York and were like, yeah,
sure.
People need to. At least they didn't write New York on the screen.
You see it sort of flying through like Central Park and stuff like that, and the trees look nice, and the light looks great, and the buildings look great. But then you see all these people walking through Central Park.
Yep.
And I hate the character design in this film, and like I think it's the same for the other Illumination films, like the design of them, from what I've seen. it's just the ugliest.
Ugly face.
Just like nothing about it is appealing. And I would have thought that they'd try and make it like, you can make things look exaggerated and stuff, but I don't see how it's appealing or cute for kids, because I was expecting this to be a cute film.
You know all that Disney research crap they do into like faces of animals.
You've got to get the cuteness ratio.
But they do that. It's like
none of those animals are cute.
There was that big political campaign about Disney. There was a big Facebook campaign about Disney female characters all looking homogenous.
It wasn't a political campaign. It was just like, hey, all the characters in Frozen have the same face.
They do.
And they do, because it's a sort of narrower scope of what an attractive female can look like, I guess.
Mm.
Really.
But they still do like big eyes and they get the ratios right.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just sometimes you see like a drawing that someone's done of a face and you're just like, well, you've got a distinctive style, but it's just ugly to look at. I don't like this drawing. It just is like, doesn't inspire joy. And you have to keep the drawing that inspires the most joy, and then you pass the joy, and then you get rid of the ones that don't inspire joy.
Like, they can be ugly. I'm fine with that, but as long as it like conveys something, like there's a point to it, and you can tell what the character. If it's a kids' film, you should be able to tell what they are like, what the character's like, based on how they look and how they move and things.
Yeah.
They're so ugly looking, and none of them are cute, and I was expecting it to be a cute movie, I guess.
Cute movie.
Yeah.
With
Secret
dogs.
Life of Pets, where you can...
Weird looking Louis C.K. dog.
Louis C.K. is a dog in this. He's the main dog.
Is uglier the more you know about Louis C.K. The more you come to see Louis C.K. in this dog, the more you will not like this dog.
It could be any generic 30-year-old white dude, American.
Louis C.K. is not 30. Look at his hairline.
But he's like spiritually.
Look at his hairline. He's not.
His
30.
aura is like perpetually 30.
Is it?
Yes.
Right.
That's not a good thing. It's just like yeah. He just seems 30.
He seems 30.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you have the dog. Here's the stupid dog who's introduced to rip-off of Woody.
Oh.
You have the Woody dog.
Oh yeah, so it's like a Woody and Buzz Lightyear situation.
And then the owner who's the worst owner.
He feels jealous. Oh, the owner's terrible. I don't know if people do this, because I don't have a dog, but they just leave it in the house, locked up all day.
Yep.
And expect it not to go insane.
Yep. And all the dogs piss everywhere.
Yeah. Like, you don't have a litter tray for a dog. What does it do? Just holds it?
It pisses. Pisses on the floor, pisses in the flowers, everywhere.
Yeah, so the owner's kind of a piece of shit, really. And then she gets a new dog in this tiny New York apartment that's actually amazing, so I don't know what she does. You were saying that.
Yeah.
Like, what does she do?
It was really weird. Like, she gets the dog when she's looking for a roommate, so she clearly has some kind of, like, awareness of rent, and she must be, like, a trust fund baby or something.
Okay.
But she has a stupid hipster apartment.
We're giving her way more sort of context and backstory
than the film did.
You know, like Tom and Jerry?
Yeah.
And you don't see the humans. You always see them from, like, the waist down and stuff.
Oh, no, you see the stereotypical black cleaner lady.
Oh.
That's, you know, slightly problematic.
Let's just ignore that.
Just forget about that. Just forget about that, yeah.
Forget about it. You know that stylistic choice that they do it in Lady and the Tramp, I think, as well, where you just see the humans waist down, apart from, again, with the racial stereotypes, if you're an Italian waiter, you see all of them. But with, like, the owners and stuff, you don't see the faces. This is a very specific stylistic choice. You don't see the owners, and you don't see most humans, apart from if they're racial stereotype, and then you see the whole human.
Yes, but that wasn't in this one. The owner's not a stereotype.
Yeah, I was trying to make a point, but I got too okay. I went on tangent. But I was saying, like, what if they did that in this film? Like, why do you have to see any people? What sort of functions does any of the humans have in terms of characters and stuff?
It's the illusion of tension, or like the kind of the structure that kind of hems them in is all based on people, but then that's only introduced when it's actually convenient. So, like, throughout the film, you keep having the what they call it, the pound people, the like dog collectors show up.
The dog collectors, like debt collectors.
Yeah, the dog collectors. They go around and collect your dogs away.
Oh, no.
So they they are constantly chasing them, but they're introduced as a threat to transition the film after they've escaped. So you have the very kind of like blatant rip-off Pixar event. So normally in a Pixar film you have the two characters who get, and about 20-30 minutes into the film something goes wrong and then they're stuck. So you got Woody and Buzz getting knocked out the window. You've got Inside Out where you have sadness and joy like falling into the thing.
They don't really have a specific goal in this film.
Finding Nemo. Marvin and Dory are looking for Nemo who's gone. So in any Pixar film, 20-30 minutes into the film, you have two characters who just run off and they have to go, they're on their adventure now. They're on their like road trip movie. And in this one, you have the dog collectors come and catch them, or try to catch them, but it's completely like incidental. Like that event could happen at any point throughout the film. It's nothing to do in all of those Pixar examples.
Yeah, they just
it's usually something that goes wrong that they did. So Woody and Buzz get lost because Woody tries to knock Buzz out the window. It's not just a random event.
Yeah, and that's based on the central conflict of the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's like culminates him doing this bad thing and then them getting into a situation where he has to learn and develop.
Yeah.
And then by the end they've reached an agreement and there's a bit of a resolution there to the overall conflict. And they pretty much kind of do that. How does he get... I can't even remember how the big dog gets out that the little dog is jealous of.
They
both end up out.
Oh, they're walking.
Go on a dog walk.
Getting on dog walks, and then they do try to kind of chase each other. It's a little bit like that because they're in the dog walk, and he says, "Come over here," and then he like grabs him by the lead and takes him into the alley with the cats.
By that theory, though, that means the Buzz Lightyear dog, the new dog, then decides to lure Woody out the window, and then they both fall out the window.
Yeah.
So Buzz is also terrible, whereas in like Toy Story, he's like a bit. He's kind of blameless in this. He obviously needs to learn things, like it's not a toy. But it's not his fault. It's Woody being a jealous
He's a little annoying, isn't he? He's like stills his friends.
Yeah, but that's just by him being popular and being charismatic, and like he just sort of ends up doing that. But it's the blame is on Woody there. But in this, it's the big dog very quickly does a 180 when he doesn't have a friendly welcome and just is also awful. So both these main characters are awful.
Yep.
Why do we care? In these, you need one who's like maybe blameless and it might be just dealing with the situation poorly, but still, if they're both awful, why are we watching?
Yep. And then we get the cats in the alley, and they're really weird, inappropriate.
So
jokes.
There are so many though. At least they have lots of different kinds.
Different kinds of cats.
Yes.
Yeah.
And different designs and things.
I guess so.
Because we compared it to 9 Lives,
well,
where they just copy and paste the same cat, CGI cat.
You said the cats were the only ones that were actually cool. Like what's the main cat called? The one with the butthole. So the butthole cat.
Okay. We'll go into the buttholes in a bit.
Butthole cat. Yeah,
we'll go into the
butthole cat.
That's what I said. It was
is cute. You said because it kind of looks like Pusheen.
It looks like Pusheen. It's just a big round cat with little legs.
Weird butthole cat.
Whereas like the main dog has it's like a sort of log body with like tiny skinny little legs, but not like a pug. He's just like a regular
and a weird face.
Mongrel dog.
His head doesn't look like a head.
Yeah.
It looks like
an L shape sort of thing.
Yeah. Like a vegetable dog face.
Yeah. So like there was only the one that looked kind of cute, and so they're in the alley.
Yeah. And then you have the weird Ralph Fiennes cat, who isn't actually Ralph Fiennes. I did look it up.
It wasn't very
It's not Ralph Fiennes. It's somebody else. I can't remember who it is. But it's some other random British actor. And he's like...
I would IMDb it, but they all have just these random-ass names. Like, that cat would be called, like...
Scratchy.
No, it'd be called, like, Michael or something.
Michael the cat.
Honestly, they're all named like that. So it'll show the actor's name with the word, like, Michael underneath. And... like, that means nothing to me.
It's some random British actor.
Do you know the names of any of the characters in that film?
In the whole film?
Yeah.
What's the rabbit called? Snowball?
If it is, that's really...
It's not, is it?
It's not even Snowball.
It's Snowy something. Kevin Hartface.
Kevin
Hartface, Carrot Man. Rabbit. Anyway, yeah. No, so he says that line, that he wants to
take him home,
and
bat him around
for an hour in a game that only he understands.
Yeah, and like it has borderline funny lines like that reference the animal that they are. But it kind of feels like that would go over a kid's head. I didn't even catch that when he said that.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like Ray Fiennes. It was more like...
I'm going to look it up.
That you won't be able to tell. It'll just be like...
I will recognise it.
It's not going to be John Oliver.
It might be John Oliver. It's Steve Coogan.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's Steve Coogan.
Steve Coogan was a bald Sphinx cat in an alleyway. I don't know how you can have a stray Sphinx cat, to be honest. It will die.
You said it would die, wouldn't you?
It would die straight away. Get a skin infection and die.
They have buttholes as well. They have these weird... Apparently they have weird puckery buttholes that, like, kiss surfaces.
Where did you hear that from? Because I've heard that.
Reddit, I think. It's just Reddit.
Yeah, they'd leave little, like...
Weird butthole
You can't have it sitting anywhere. You'd have to wipe it off afterwards. That's horrific.
Yep. Should we talk about the butthole?
Let's talk about the butthole.
Chekhov's butthole.
Yeah, so... We were watching this, and it was just in a random scene where they were all talking, and there wasn't really attention drawn to it, which is why I had to pause to point it out. That I first spotted it on the cat that looked like Pusheen
cat,
which was probably voiced by like Sarah Silverman or someone. And the cat just casually like turned around, and you could see its butthole.
Yep.
As in, it's a big bluish grey cat. Really fluffy, and its tail was just in the air like a cat would be, and it's got like a tiny pink butthole. It's deliberately someone makes a choice.
High resolution.
Someone makes a choice to
butthole.
add that there, right?
Artistic.
So
choice.
I pause it and it's sort of why.
Why is that?
Why they're not? It's not like a part of the scene. No one's like making jokes about this in this kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they might, I'm saying they might, but it's not happening in this scene. So why can we see it? Why has it been animated so it would turn around so that we'd be able to see it? So we just sort of said, okay, that's a bet on that there's going to be some sort of
butthole joke.
As in something like from you see the cat's face and like something happens to its butt. I don't know, just some kind of lame joke like that. But it's animated on like other pets as well. You can't see other stuff, so it makes me feel weird that they added that detail.
Do you think they modelled all the animals and then created one butthole that was then copied
and pasted
for every animal and then maybe scaled and recoloured? Or do you think they custom drew each butthole and then like took pictures of animals for reference?
People who
How do you do that?
So many.
How would you do that?
Copy and paste the butthole.
No.
Control C, Control V.
Wait. What do you use for reference when modelling a cat butthole?
Cats will show you their butthole.
Do you just Google cat butthole?
But they weren't even making a joke like saying, "Oh, get that out of my face," sort of thing. Like having a big mouth. That's sort of what made me start getting angry at the film.
Yeah.
Because if they have included this not to make jokes about, it's just adding to the ugliness of these character designs.
Yeah.
They're just ugly for no reason. They just look a bit gross. Like, there's too much detail on certain bits, and then it's cartoonish for the rest of them, which is what you said.
Yeah.
Like, instead of the mouths and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the weird hyper-realistic mouths. So you have, like, you have the weird gerbil guy, and he has, like, the tooth, he has, like, the two teeth at the front, and then, like, a space, and then, like, side teeth. And he just looks disgusting.
Yeah, like and I was like, maybe that works in that, like, it's a cute rabbit or something, and it opens its mouth, and you know that the rabbit's actually a bad guy.
When we went
so when it
down
opens its mouth, it's a bit gross and scary, so that kind of works. But it's also with all the others, they're just all gross.
We
and
went
horrible.
down that rabbit hole the other day.
Gosh.
I was waiting for that rabbit hole.
Okay, very good.
To look at all of the rabbits' mouths. You remember, like, rabbits yawning?
Yeah, I sent you that, and you were horrified.
3 weeks ago, we just, like, Google image search rabbits yawning, and they were just all scary.
Mm-hmm.
Weird, scary-looking animals.
So...
who eat their children.
We were just waiting for some sort of butt joke to happen, so then we could go away.
And it didn't.
It didn't.
Never happened.
At any point. And it doesn't mean they didn't have, like, weird, dark jokes.
Yeah.
I'm paralysed.
Oh, yeah. The dog that says he's paralysed. I'm paralysed.
Exactly, that's
what he sounds like, right?
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess some kids would laugh at that. The kids are old enough to know what the word paralysed means, even though this is for very young kids.
Who doesn't know what the word paralysed means?
Very young kids. But I'm just saying that joke wouldn't work on kids. It was
a weird joke for kids. Let's talk about the sausages. The weird sausage party dream sequence where all of the personified sausages, which are self-aware, are reveling in the fact that they're about to be eaten. It has
got real parallels to Sausage Party then, which
yeah,
I have seen.
Except in Sausage Party, they didn't. Again, they did want to be eaten in the beginning.
They did.
They wanted to be chosen by the gods.
They weren't terrified and cowering, which would actually
They didn't know.
I would actually have appreciated that more if they were actually scared.
Yeah, they just thought they were being chosen by the gods. They didn't actually understand what was happening. That's pretty weird.
Yeah, you're right. It's exactly, it's canon. Are they part of the same universe then?
No.
Sausage Party and the dogs you grow for pets.
No.
Why don't you want to believe?
I just don't know.
Okay.
Should we talk about a different film? Alright, so Climax and Mandy are two films that we saw recently.
Yes.
Which were similar in that they both were very
batshit crazy.
They were both crazy, and they both had a very deliberate aesthetic.
Yeah.
So you have Climax, which is Gaspar Noé, or Noé, whatever, don't know how to say his name, who I've seen 3 of his films now, and I feel like his films are actually very similar. So for the 3 films that I've seen, I kind of feel like they're about 40% the same film each time. And that isn't to say that he's some kind of very kind of boring... I don't think it's boring or repetitive, but I think it's interesting how... So you can have different Tarantino films, and the substance of a Tarantino film can be kind of similar in that they're very dialogue heavy, and he writes this similar kind of confrontational dialogue. But you have these elements that are consistent across the 3 Gaspar Noé films that I've seen, which is Climax, Enter the Void, and Love, where there is this kind of consistency to it, so you can see that it's the same guy, even though that the plots are obviously very different, and even the way that things are presented can be different. But you see things like he keeps doing this blink transition all the time. I thought it was in Love because it kind of fit in Love because when it cuts, it won't just cut to the next shot. It'll cut to a few frames of black, so it's kind of like a blink. But I thought that made sense in Love because you're watching 2 characters bang or whatever, and then it's kind of it's almost like a blink, you're a watcher, you're a voyeur there, so you're this kind of perverted observer. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't really tie thematically into Climax the same way, and they still do the same transition. So I think he just now likes that cut, which then makes me think less of the use in Love, because it seems like it was just a thing that he likes to do. But
I think it's also kind of how you perceive things in that kind of environment when you're at a party and it's just sort of cutting from one moment to the next sort of thing. Instead of, it does have very long takes where it's someone walking around a party and then someone else grabs the camera's attention and then we follow them around for a little bit and we just sort of watch things change and develop and get more or less intense in our periphery. And then it has sort of that blinking sequence while we're watching everyone drink the punch and stuff while the punch is drugged, by the way. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. The LSD Kool-Aid. I was going to say that's arguably worse, but what am I talking about? That's worse? Don't drink what? Cyanide Kool-Aid. It was actually Flavor Aid, but Gatorade. Gatorade? Mountain Dew, what? No, it was a cheap What's version. Flavor Aid? The the phrase "don't drink the Kool-Aid." Oh yeah, that's the guy who jumps through the window. He's the Kool-Aid monster. That's a real thing, by the way. That's not just from Family Guy. He's a man who will come and get you. That's an actual advert that the Kool-Aid guy will jump through, and No, it's just Jonestown needs Flavor Aid. Oh yeah, because they didn't really have the budget for Kool-Aid. Anyway, we're talking about a film. So the opening shot was cool. Yes, very long takes. And you were just saying how many times do you think we had to run that to get it right? I think all of the 3 films I've seen have all had long takes in, but that was the most impressive because of
there was a lot of choreography and kind of it was a very dynamic shot whilst also being very long. So in Love, the opening shot is like 5 minutes long. Yeah, and in Enter the Void, you also get long shots, but a lot of those are kind of like either kind of CGI shots or like floaty camera, like out of body experience type shots. There's like drug sequences and things like that, and psychedelic stuff going on. So it seems like that would be easier to kind of edit around to kind of give the impression of these long shots, but it's less technically impressive than literally having that crazy dance choreography go on for like 15 minutes or whatever it is, and then doing all the punches. And if that is all one shot where you have the dance, they pull off the whole dance sequence, no one screws it up, then they go to the bit with the punch, and the kid is doing stuff. Like, the kid was, like, climbing around on the stairs and interacting with the adults. Imagine if the kid fucked that shut up after, like, 20 minutes of all of the dance routine. Like, how much hatred there would be on that set.
We don't like child actors. I quite like the sort of dance style that they decided to go with for this film anyway.
Yep.
Because they could have gone with a lot of different things, I guess, but had all that sort of voguing style. And I'm not really sure what's... Yeah, the actual dance style, yeah.
Weird arm
and it might
stuff.
not be specifically that, but yeah, with the arms and being angular and quite almost like aggressive, and just about interesting shapes and stuff.
Twisting his head round.
It looks like they shouldn't be able to do what they're doing, which is kind of meant to like lend itself well to when the film gets very uncomfortable and scary, and you can't trust anyone, and these normal people are suddenly very threatening because they're unpredictable and you're not sure what they're going to do.
Yep.
It sort of lends itself quite well to that because there's still dance happening even right near the end. Yeah, I really like Climax. We're not even talked about Mandy yet.
No.
But, I definitely liked it more than Mandy because I thought Mandy was going to go a specific way that I was quite interested in. But it didn't. Whereas Climax, you sort of have this inevitable feeling, I think, when anyone goes to see that. If you've seen the trailer, you know that it's just going to be, and by the title itself, you know things are going to build and build and build and get more and more intense as it goes, and you can make less and less sense of what's going on. When you've got that whole red lit scene when everyone's just on the floor.
Yeah.
Doing like you can't even tell like whether someone's being murdered or whether they're having sex or whether
someone gets their head like smashed on the ground.
Yeah, and you're just like, wait, what? And you never get any clarification on what happened because then it just sort of cuts to, well, obviously spoilers for this whole thing, to when the police arrive and they just have this scene. Some people are alive, some people dead. You can't even tell if someone's passed out or what. So you kind of have as much information as they do, just gathering from like what they're seeing now.
Yeah.
And like you kind of want to know what's happened to certain people where you see something terrible about to happen and the character you're following happens to leave the room at that point. Like the girl whose head set on fire. And I was always just like, what happened to her?
It was a bit weird how she just kind of disappeared. Like,
well, because
her hair went up very quickly and then she ran off for like half the movie.
She didn't even run. She stayed in that room. The girl that we were following, the main girl.
She ran away.
The actress is the main actress ran away.
No, the fire girl ran away.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well, I assumed she would.
But then no one else acknowledged that. No one else was like, "Who was that flaming girl?"
Yeah.
Flame girl.
Flame girl.
That didn't happen.
Hang on, I'm just trying to find. Sophia Boutella, she was in Kingsman.
Kingsman sword amputee person.
Yes.
Shring
but
shring.
She's not actually amputee.
Stabby stabby. She wasn't actually an amputee.
No.
That would be commitment.
Yeah, so we see the woman whose head got caught fire, and you can see it coming as soon as you see the shot. In that is this girl being backed up, and there's like a Bunsen burner on, and I was like, no, don't go near that. Don't go near that. On? Drugs.
Bunsen burner drugs.
I guess.
She huffing methane.
I don't know. Like it just was on. It was just like it was. I don't even know if it was Bunsen burner, but it was like one of those canister things that you light when you're camping.
Okay.
So she could have been cooking on that, but
why did her hair go up so fast?
I think like because it was quite tall, the flame, and she just like let her whole back of her head against it.
You know how drugs can end up.
Drugs make you more flammable.
You know how drugs
Don't do it, kids.
You know how drugs end up in your hair for like a drug test. Does that mean that if you do?
It's just
right. So you know how when
her hair's just full of coke.
Yeah. So like when you know how like if you don't have enough calcium and you get the white spots on your nails and then they grow like over a long time that would just be white all through your nail. So if you have lots of cocaine and other drugs, does that get built into your whole head, like all the way down your hair as it grows out, and then that just makes your hair more flammable? I think just
people are more flammable than you expect them to be. I think that's the...
It's the clothes and the hair, not the people.
Yeah, but once it's on you, fire will catch and you'll be dead before it burns out normally, unless someone helps you.
It's all these plastic clothes as well. That's an issue.
That's a problem. Yeah, and they'll melt to you.
Okay, so... Mandy,
why did it have to be about Nicolas Cage?
It was great. The thing with Mandy that bugged me was that I wish films were an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half long most of the time, because so many of them are just padded to hell. Like,
how long was Mandy?
Mandy was 2 hours, and it really didn't need to be. Like, the strongest scenes in the film, like the best shots and best moments, apart from being in the first half of the film.
I did get a From Dusk Till Dawn vibe in terms of like the whole...
There was a lot better than
It was almost like the genre... Like the visuals remain the same. Well, not exactly the same, but like the visual like ambitions and stuff, they remain the same, but it's almost like the genre changes.
Yep.
I was intrigued by the first bit. I was still confused by parts, but I still found it interesting.
Yeah.
Like the long scene that's in red where Mandy's walking down the road and the cult leader's driving by, and it slows down and everything's in red and we're seeing it from his point of view and how he's like so focused on her face.
Yeah.
And just other parts about them just having their little life together, which I thought was really interesting. I was assuming it wasn't going to go down something that I would find a bit predictable, in that if something bad happens, a bad thing will happen to Mandy, and it will end up focusing on, not on her and her experience there, but on Nicolas Cage and how much he can scream about it and how he's going to get revenge or vengeance for what happened to her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really have any agency in that.
Well, she's kind of the main character for the first half an hour, and then it flips.
And then it does flip, yeah,
because
exactly.
The whole sequence where, like, you've kind of got, like, her life, she then gets seen, then she gets kidnapped, and then they have that, like, cool shot where it's, like, her showing down, her, like, facing off against the cult leader.
That's great.
He's, like, standing there in his weird, like...
And he sort of presents
himself. What's the guy in Flash Gordon called? Who's the bad...
Flash Gordon?
Something Nim?
Oh,
who's the bad...
Emperor Zim.
Whatever, Emperor Zim face from Flash Gordon.
Sure.
He's got this weird, like... I guess it's set in the 70s, so that's why. But he's got this, like, weird dressing gown.
Emperor Zod?
No, it's not Zod. That's in Superman.
Okay.
It's like Emperor Nim or whatever, something like that. So he looks like that, and then he just, like, gets his dick out, and...
That's Ming the Merciless.
Ming the Merciless, there you go. So he gets his dick out, and she's just kind of laughing at him.
Yeah, imagine if this guy in this massive cloak just rips off in Flash Gordon, and he's just got a tiny dick.
He has this weird... They have the cool shot where it fades between their faces, which is very cool. Where you kind of fade backwards and forwards slowly, and then it kind of...
Oh yeah, and it merges their faces.
And then it like 50-50s on them, so you see both of them at once.
That was amazing, and I would like kind of wish I'd seen that in the cinema, because that'd be...
It was cool.
That'd be cool.
It was cool. It was
cool. But like just for the visual sake of it, and her reaction was like kind of how you'd hope that you'd react in terms of like being defiant whilst these people are trying to intimidate and control you. It's just she just laughs at him.
Yeah. So
as if she can't hold it in, like how ridiculous he is, which like turns out is the worst thing to do because of how insecure he is, and they end up murdering her.
Well, she's probably going to die anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. If she, like, buys into it, they'll probably...
It's like, die or be a slave, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, so, Nicolas Cage sees the wife get murdered, burnt up, and she has the cool skull thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that bit. Ooh.
That was cool. But she has the... So, after he sees her die, he then sees the weird goblin... What is the advert? There's a weird trailer on TV.
Isn't it a leprechaun or goblin?
Oh, then we're mixing up Rick and Morty now with the... It's like...
yeah, Lucky Charms.
It's not Lucky Charms. It's like a weird goblin vomit soup.
Something about mac and cheese. It's mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Goblin mac and cheese.
Goblin mac and
garbage
cheese.
Like that.
Yeah.
And it's just about how the world doesn't care.
Yeah. And then he just chunks half a bottle of vodka and just screams. And it was amazing.
That was pretty sick. I liked it how it cut into being this very wide angle shot of him in their bathroom.
It was quite jarring. Like,
in this t-shirt, and it is jarring because
the
you've
light's
suddenly got
on,
like
it's very
the
bright.
light. You've got a very light, bright bathroom light. That's very the sort of stark and things, and it sort of like brings him back to the present, and you just have him having this massive freak out, like you might expect if you see your wife murdered in this really horrific way just minutes before. He still has like an ungodly amount of vodka that would like have killed him probably. I don't know.
Half a bottle.
But it was a big bottle.
It was a big bottle. Half a litre.
Yeah. I think more than that.
And then he poured some of it over himself.
Oh, yeah, because he's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's for a fact.
But what we were thinking, though, is that when Mandy's murdered initially, she is... Initially, as if she's murdered more than once. She's murdered once, but they bring her out in a sack. You don't see that it's her. You just see the sack moving around.
Yeah.
And they string it up and they light the sack on fire. And you see her moving around. And we're just meant to assume that is Mandy. But what if it wasn't? I don't know, because cults can play mind games on people.
What if it was a raccoon or 2 raccoons? 2 raccoons in a bag.
I think she's slightly bigger than 2 raccoons.
3 raccoons.
Okay, I'll give you 3 raccoons.
3 raccoons.
The actress who plays Mandy is great, by the way, because I've seen her in Black Mirror's Crocodile, and she's cool. Yeah, so I thought like maybe there'd be some sort of twist.
It's a twist.
Yeah.
Like,
and,
so she
and
comes out at the
I just
end.
basically wanted more Mandy, and
She's
there wasn't
been
any more Mandy.
lobotomized at the end. So he goes when he confronts weird cult leader, he goes, "I have your girlfriend," and she's either been turned into the ass. Maybe she had also been turned into the like LSD demon thing. So she's like LSD demon Mandy, and then Nicolas Cage is LSD demon Nicolas Cage. And then they both like light themselves on fire and scream at each other, like laughing, and then they just burn to death. And that's
I'd
the end
like
of the film.
that. I'd rather that than just Nicolas Cage facing up slightly like these different battles, like leading up to like the final boss.
He could play Highway to Hell. They could literally like go to like he could go to the guy's. No. This is good. Right, okay. So he goes because the guy has a record collection with his only like he plays like the Carpenters or whatever. Right, so that's what the guy did, the cult leader. Right, so he gets the cult leader and then he finds her and she's in a cage or something and she's been subjected to this weird demon LSD and he finds her and he's like, "Oh, you're like me now." And then they go to the guy's record collection and they put on Highway to Hell and they start listening to it really loudly and then they just light themselves on fire and just scream and like just die. And then it ends.
I'm down for that.
That would be an ending.
Yeah.
And they laugh and Nicolas Cage laughs. That's kind of like Crank though, because Crank did that as well.
I've not seen Crank.
Crank 2, where he gets like set on fire from like a battery and he's like screaming and he's like laughing as his face is burning up. It's really dumb. Don't watch Crank 2.
Okay.
But that was a thing in that.
Yeah, I would have... Yeah, just to have her be an agent in her own story because of her being an interesting character sort of thing, rather than this narrative where something happens to the woman and it's up to the man to take vengeance for her instead and things.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it a little bit not interesting. I guess I think it can be if there was like more complexity in their relationship and maybe he has like resentment, like if their marriage wasn't perfect and he has resentment and regret there and this is him trying to do good after her death sort of thing. Yeah. Even though that's sort of pointless, but it sort of brings attention to the fact that revenge itself is pointless. Mm-hmm. Like that would be interesting, but it's just like no, they were great together. It was all good until these bad people came along and killed her for no reason. It was, that's... So then it's like a video game.
Maybe she was an abuse victim. Because she had, like, scars and stuff, didn't she? Is that the actress? It wouldn't
tell us, though, because...
Yeah, but they didn't tell... No. They didn't tell him either. You just had more time to figure it out. So he's clearly, like, some post-Vietnam War PTSD. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. It's all right. I wear, like... Tiger shirts? Oh yeah,
you wear tiger shirts.
Tiger shirts, yeah.
Well, dousing himself in vodka.
So he's clearly got some bad stuff going on, and I don't know why.
I guess, like,
why does he have a forge and a mold for like a weird Like,
he forged his own like sword axe.
he has like a Lord of the
creation.
Rings axe. Yeah, and
He starts.
Why would
he
he
has
have a
time
mold?
to smelt something.
He had, yeah, he
in
like
this one night.
He couldn't just go to the shop and buy an axe. He has to make like a metal axe.
It's very heavy metal vibes. They're like with even down to like the wardrobe that they're wearing and stuff like that, and the band tees, and like she's got like sort of the cut off sleeve T-shirt with like a band logo on. I think.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know, like that sort of like Metallica style thing, and the cartoon heavy metal. We've even got like cartoon sort of segments like nearer the end where he's having a dream and it's
Oh,
she's
those
in the
were
cartoon
cool.
and she like rips the heart out of him and stuff.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was cool.
It's just too
and
long.
That made sense.
They just needed to cut it down to 90 minutes and then it would have been so much better.
Doesn't he like at the end he squeezes the main cult leader's
that was dumb.
face
Yeah,
off.
it was like weird
That's
Total
not how-
Recall ending.
I don't think that's how
smushes
faces work.
his eye out. He kind of like smushes his head so hard that his eye goes.
I don't know, maybe.
There are two other films that I remember head smushings from, and those were not film. So you have Game of
American
Thrones.
History X and...
Oh, that's different. He's kicking his head.
Well, he's curb stomped.
You
But
have-
that's still a head smushing.
You have
in my
power
opinion.
in a face, in a leg. Sorry,
You have power in a face.
There is power in a face. If you kick someone, yeah, that's bad. That's definitely gonna kill someone or mess them up. I'm talking about Star Trek Into Darkness. You have this super soldier guy who smushes somebody's head off screen, but he's a super soldier. And then obviously you have Game of Thrones where he's smushing his head. But
There's another film where someone's
that
head
guy's
smushed.
like 7 foot tall and the strongest man in the world, so he could do that fine, you know. But this random
Top
Nicolas
10
Cage guy,
head smushings from movies.
just because someone ripped his shirt doesn't mean he has the motivation to just go on this like
It's a bit Raiders of the Lost Ark how his face sort of just collapses.
yeah paper mache face. Do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, paper mache with a bit of latex drizzled over the top and you golden.
You ripped my shirt. You ripped my shirt. That was my favourite shirt.
Like stories where it's about people taking LSD and it makes them realise everything and it gives them superpowers and stuff.
Yep.
I just don't care. It's just like one of those people who's just trying to tell you like, yeah, it's real good, man. You need to try it. It'll open up your mind like a jar of jam. You need to do it. Third eye. You can do it.
Like a jar of jam.
Yeah.
Open up your mind like a jar of jam.
Yeah, and then you can spread
Get
it on the toast that is the
brains.
universe. And yeah, I don't find that interesting. But there's so many films that are about that. But I guess when you mention the fact that he's like some sort of vet, has trauma already,
Yeah.
so them
Veteran, not a traumatized doctor of animals.
There are lots of those too.
There are
There are very high suicide rates in the
veterinarian.
Yes.
Veterinarian.
animal doctors.
Animal
There's
doctors.
very high suicide rates.
They're
It's
just
very
jealous
sad.
of the
It's
people
a problem.
doctors.
It's an epidemic.
It's because they have to kill the animals, right?
Yeah, and they just
Their
it
whole
gets you
job
down.
is putting down
It's like-
animals and telling little girls that their animals are dead.
But yeah, the idea that that they are already sort of traumatized, and so then what's the word if you deliberately annoy someone and try and get them to do something?
Prank?
It's just a prank, bro.
It's a prank,
We
bro.
burnt your wife alive.
What are you
Life
talking
is just a
about?
prank. No, where they say like as if like you acting in self-defense or like you've got a just cause because they were trying to rile you up. There's a word.
Antagonize? Provoked.
Yes.
Right, that's not
Okay, finally we're there.
That's not a real defense, though.
No, but like they can say they were provoked.
They had it coming.
No, what I'm meaning is that they're already have. It's implied that they have some sort of trauma that they've already experienced, and for this incident to be what provokes him. And also, when is the first time he takes shitloads of drugs? Well, he has loads of vodka. Do they also drug him when they have him tied up? Or?
No, he takes.
She's high as fuck, but they injected her. She was high as fuck.
They inject her in the neck with the wasp thing.
Yeah.
I
There's
think.
also a giant wasp in this film that they just
Oh no!
use
They give her
with
something else as
tweezers.
well. I think they give her regular.
That was horrific.
They give her like regular weird drugs, and then they do the wasp to spite her because she like sassed her out.
Yeah.
So the woman who's like torturing her and like holding her, she stings her with the wasp. I think just to kind of like, basically just to like dick her over. But the Nicolas Cage, I think the first time he does drugs is after he kills all the heavy metal guys. he just kind of picks it up and like licks it on his finger, and then you get that cool shot of like his face melting.
Well, he actually has like, or is it one of the villains who has has a literal mountain of cocaine?
Yeah.
Yeah, like an insane amount.
He's just watching porn and like taking cocaine.
And I'm not sure what sort of hellscape this is a part of. Nothing is really making sense at this point, and not in a deliberate way, as in like, why are they just dragging him here and just leaving him and he's unconscious and
because they wanted to torture him, I think. But what really didn't make sense is why do they have a bottomless pit right next to him?
Yeah, he just like sort of is casually right next to a bottomless pit.
Very convenient for falling into.
What landscape do they live in?
Maybe it was a mine shaft.
Sure.
I don't know.
They work in a
It
mine.
was near a quarry, I think. It was all kind of like a quarry.
Does Nicolas Cage die at the end? No, the ending's kind of interesting.
He just drives home.
He drives home and he sees Mandy in the passenger side of his best friend's ride.
Yep.
He just sort of smiles at her, and it's like a proper Nicolas Cage face completely covered in blood, crazy eyes smile. I think that's just they actually asked him to do like a nice warm smile, something Cage, nice and comforting to end the film with, and that's what he went with.
Nicolas Cage always has a proper Nicolas Cage face.
Yeah, but I'm saying that they probably
except in Face Off. Then he has John Travolta's face.
Yes.
I don't like John Travolta though. I've got no. Nicolas Cage is cool, but John Travolta is a loser.
Oh.
He is. He's a weirdo. Have you seen the clip in Going Clear where he's talking about Scientology and he's like, "I know of no technology or philosophy,
full stop,
or entroscopy that I don't know, endoscopy that."
Isn't endoscopy is like a camera on a tube that they put inside you?
It's the one that goes up your bum, right?
Oh wow.
Endoscopy.
He doesn't know of any.
It goes in your endo.
He doesn't know of any.
Yeah, he doesn't know of any technology. It's like technology's not sentient. Technology's a
he
thing.
just doesn't know of it. Sorry, that was the end of the sentence.
No. He's like he doesn't know of any technology that does what Scientology does, and it's like Scientology's not a technology. It's a crazy.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's a craziness. It literally is. It's a big old pyramid scheme.
We shouldn't include this.
Why?
We're gonna get targeted.
For what?
By the side.
Nah, people would have to watch the video for that.
All
right, let's do something other than Mandy.
I'm sad now.
It's cool. All right, Mandy's done. Next film, 2 films, in fact, Dr. Strangelove and Death of Stalin. 2 films which
what made
are
you
looking.
Pair these together?
What made me pair these together is that they're both very kind of like satirical, comedic films, but they both have this kind of deeper message, which is just kind of horrifying. Same with Look Who's Back. Like they're all films about.
Look Who's Back.
Yes, it's a good film, but
the book is the book. The film's confusing.
They're darkly funny films, but the message, so you've got Look Who's Back, and the message is, oh shit, they were actually a Nazi, and now they're in power, and now we need to deal with this situation, and now he's come back and taken out,
Sure.
Oh look, how could he have come to power? I don't know why, who would have thought that him telling everybody that he was racist the whole time, maybe he actually was racist and terrible the whole time.
It's true.
It's true. So, and then Death of Stalin, you've got this kind of Game of Thrones-esque backstabbing,
to me,
craziness.
It was basically, if you like the thick of it, or if you like The Office, then you'll like the thick of it, and if you like the thick of it, you'll like this, which is basically the thick of it in Soviet Russia. I just love it. I was just expecting one of them to just look into the camera while someone was talking or something. It was with the handheld camera and everything as well, and not dramatically lit scenes. No, I really love Death of Stalin.
I actually liked it. It didn't know any fourth wall breaks. I think that would have been a bit on the nose. That would have been
a bit much because there's no cameras there in this universe.
Yeah.
Well, in this point in history, they're not going to actually be recording this for whatever documentary The Office was.
The thing with fourth wall breaks is that they feel like if you just talked about any film that didn't have them in and said, what if they did a fourth wall break, it would be weird until it was done. Mm-hmm. Because then you'd be like, well, I don't get it anymore. But whereas if it's consistent, I think if you're going to do a fourth wall break, it has to happen almost immediately as an introduction. So like in Deadpool, like in The Wolf of Wall Street, both of those films, the characters do a fourth wall break practically at the start of the film. So you set that as a tone,
Well,
in a kind of a narration element to it.
I wasn't actually wanting there to be a fourth wall break or anything like that. I'm just meaning in that the
You
tone
want to
of
wink
it.
at the camera, though.
No, I was just meaning like the tone of it and the sort of style and the type of humour that it was basically that. That's what I was meaning, not literally.
And then the other film, Dr. Strangelove, is about how nuclear weapons are terrible and everyone's going to blow everyone up and no one learns anything because you have
kind of timely,
these characters who they narrowly sort of avoid a nuclear crisis, barely, where, you know, they're on the phone to Russia and they say, okay, well, we need to stop our plane from blowing you up, and they just have that one plane that blows up the wrong city, and then they start talking about like mine shaft gap, like a mine, you know, like there can be no mine shaft gap. We need to like it turns into like Fallout where everyone's like, we need to live in the vault and we need to get a better vault, and what if they hold on to their nuclear weapons so that after we come out of the vault in 100 years then they just blow us up?
They immediately go from theoretically talking about if it was just what would actually happen in the event of nuclear apocalypse. Oh, we'd all go down the mine shaft and we'd all need dozens of women to repopulate the earth, presumably. And it needs to be this kind of ratio because for obvious reasons. And then it sort of just effortlessly turns into like practical sort of a practical conversation, and more of these guys sort of buying into it, saying like, how many women do you think per man do you say?
The guy who says, there's one of the characters says something like, do you mean that this would be the end of the monogamous relationship? Is that the crazy general guy who was already banging his secretary who says that? Exactly. Or is it the president who said that?
No, it's the guy who's banging his secretary. And his secretary, she was great. Like, when she was like on the phone and just relaying messages.
He's taking a poo and like talking about the end of the world, and he's like, just tell him I'll call him back.
He says it's quite urgent. And the whole when the president calling the president of Russia, and it's like they're an old married couple, and it's just like wittering on, and and
they're like, we've got 13 minutes left to fix this problem. Oh, now you hang up.
Yeah, you can't really tell in the film, but the table itself, it was like the sort of billiard table green, that they were all sat around the big round table. So it was kind of to imply like this is like a cute, very Kubrick thing, in that thing that like the audience will never be able to tell. But as if they were deliberating the fate of the world over like a poker game. It was kind of like that sort of vibe that he was going for. I heard apparently, but
well, you can tell from this particular shade of grey that it was green.
Yes.
Both very funny films. Obviously, Death of Stalin's way more modern, so it's a bit snappier. But the old one's still very funny as well. Like the RAF guy is funny. He's like, he goes in and he's like, but sir, I must insist that you tell them to turn off the nuclear. You know, we're gonna call those planes back, yo.
Oh God, the bodily fluids.
And the bodily fluids. Yes.
That was amazing. That this guy just had his whole worldview was shaped around...
He had a manifesto about communism and bodily fluids.
The communists are going to take away our vital bodily fluids.
The fluoridation in the water.
And it's something to do with the fluoridation in the water. So water is the worst thing. You should never drink water.
No,
which
distilled
explains why...
water. No, you drink distilled water.
He's just been drinking whiskey for 30 years because whiskey doesn't have water in it.
No. He says he drinks clear alcohol.
Yes.
And distilled water.
Okay. I think it was mostly clear alcohol by this point.
No fruit juice.
His brain was just like a
withered
prune.
Sunny D is the communists' drink. It rots your brain.
I don't think it is. I don't think they get Sunny D.
Turns you yellow and then turns you red.
American drink.
It's an American drink.
Yeah, but like in concept, like it's not even really yellow. It's dyed yellow.
Have you ever had Sunny D?
Not as it was, no.
I wasn't allowed Sunny D. I think I may have tried it one time.
I wanted Sunny D, but my family was too poor.
Yeah. Or
like in Russia. It's expensive.
Like
if it's
bleach.
not 30p, it's
Even
expensive.
looked like some kind of cleaning product, didn't it? Like the bottle it was in was weird, right?
Yeah, and there wasn't much in there.
What was the catchphrase? It was like Sunny D makes you pee, or no?
I don't think that was a catchphrase.
That'd be a rubbish advertising campaign. No.
I don't know what.
Should we look up a Sunny D advert? I'm gonna check it out. I want to see what the catchphrase is. Sunny D. Oh, I'm just gonna Google Sunny D.
Oh yes, it's massive actually. It's just how big is their fridge? All the trailers just got purple stuff because of this. Way to be, Mrs. J.
Yeah.
The good stuff kids go for.
Yeah, but look how thick. Look how many chemicals must be in that to have the bottle is so like opaque.
Why is it in like a bleach type container?
That's what I'm saying. It's a weird like.
That'll unclog your drain, I guess.
Really, really weird looking bottle. That's a drink.
Yes.
For the
they
children.
Also serve iced tea in those.
The
America's
children.
Interesting. For the children, it's the good stuff kids go for.
The good stuff kids go for.
That is such a vague tagline.
A vague tagline. Drugs, the good stuff kids shouldn't go for.
I quite like that as like an after-school special. I like how it still says it's the good stuff.
The good stuff.
But maybe they shouldn't.
But for grown-ups.
Only for grown-ups.
Only for grown-ups.
That's for Krabby's ginger beer.
Krabby's ginger beer. Only for grown-ups.
It's delicious. I like Krabby's.
Is it? I've had it one time.
It's nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sunny D,
Death of
you
Stalin.
make you pee. Sunny D, it's the good stuff kids go for. They need a better catchphrase. That doesn't work. Death of Stalin. Steve Buscemi. He's the man.
He is the man, and he became the man.
He doesn't tip, and he didn't tip his way to becoming new Stalin. Stalin 2.0, and that weird guy with his list.
I know not so much about like
Soviet Russia.
Yeah.
I don't know either. Except
I'm not
I know
super
that
keen
they
in
do
on it.
things to you instead of you doing things to Soviet Russia.
That's a very old meme.
Is it?
Yeah.
Damn.
But I know a little bit in terms of how the very, very upper tier of government can work in like fascist communist societies. In like Mao's China is really interesting. How it just very intense it can get within like the top 10 guys at the top.
Yeah.
And how people can be there one week and gone the next, and you're not allowed to talk about where they've gone or why they've gone. So I found that really interesting, and it didn't shy away from like the brutality of it. Like it would show the shots of like people being kidnapped from their homes and stuff to be taken to the gulags or something.
Yep, and that guy sells out his dad.
Yeah, and then they bring him back because they were like, okay, pause all arrests. Cancel all arrests. The way how in their committee meetings they would have to get a unanimous vote on every single motion. Oh. And it sort of shows how that means nothing, getting a unanimous vote on that.
Because they just put their hands up until they all put their hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't be the stubborn one in that environment because you're just signing your own death warrant. And great bit right after they find Stalin dead in his chambers and stuff. And Lavrenti Beria, he enters first and has kind of realistic reaction, but as soon as the second person comes in, the
Supreme Leader is ill. He's ill. He's not dead. He is ill. No, he is dead.
They make a great performance of a bad performance of grieving for him, and like they all have like their perfunctory like 10 seconds of like weeping and wailing over this man, and then they're just like, okay, what we're gonna do? I think you have to do that, even though they all know it's bullshit.
I tend to feel that in films, when characters are acting to be acting badly, they often do it too far. They often go too far. And the one example that I can think of that sticks out that actually worked quite well was in Game Night. Rachel McAdams is like dancing around with the gun, kind of like she's in like Natural Born Killers or like Pulp Fiction, the girl in either of those. Yeah, she's like acting to be a bad actor, but she didn't overdo it. Mm-hmm. Whereas in like some things, when someone's like acting to be lying, I just find it too on the nose. Mm-hmm. Like, have you played LA Noire?
No.
In LA Noire, the big thing about the game when it came out is that, so you're a homicide detective, and they use like motion capture of actors' faces to do all of the animation, and this was quite a big deal when they did this at the time. But a big part of it was that you would interrogate people, and you would have to then figure out if they were lying or not.
Yeah, you mentioned this. Yeah.
The way that they would do it is they would tell the actor to act like they were lying, and they would be like, no, I didn't know where the body came from, and like, well, you're just at that point.
I've
you're
seen
just like,
a clip of that actually.
It's like, is the game mocking you, or is it just yes? It's like. Yes would almost be too obvious, and then you second guess yourself.
Does he have other issues?
Yeah, you second guess yourself and you say maybe he isn't lying because that's really weird and obvious, and then the game's like, of course he was lying. How did you not tell he was lying? And then he runs away. And, yeah.
But yeah, the deliberate bad acting in this was great. I think I liked all of it, but there was a funeral scene where they invite the public in, and
who invited the fucking bishops?
Yes, and they're so pissed off about the bishops. But one of them wants to stand at the front or swap places so they can stand next.
And he stands in front of him slowly. It's like, look, we can do it as part of a switch.
Like as if it's like part of the ceremony. I'll move here and you move here. And it's like has this sort of like chessboard sort of movement in mind, like this choreographed movement, and he just sort of steps.
He's standing in front of him. Just goes back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really great. The ending's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And everyone's. I think it's just really interesting how these like horrific acts can happen, but it's just sort of part and parcel of these guys as basically their jobs, and it just sort of at the end of it, it's just like, it's been a long day.
I was caught off guard.
The balance is really strong, I think, because they're just. It sort of emphasises that they're just all so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But it's like, which is where the humour comes from, but it's all like the actual effects, the devastating effects aren't shied away from.
Yeah. I really like the shot where they were in like a theatre or something at the end, and then the camera kind of goes to Steve Buscemi, and then you have the guy looking down on him from like 3 rows back, and then it goes to him, and it's like, and then he was the leader.
And then he was usurped. Yeah. Until this point. It's always until.
What caught me off guard though was that so throughout the film, many of those senior characters that you're kind of told that they're all very important. But only the list guy really is kind of flexing his power throughout that.
Yeah.
So you kind of just kind of buy into this idea that he's the only one with any power, or he's he
seems like the only like smart one
out
of the group.
He's making his list,
or he's like presenting himself as that.
He's making his list. He's getting people killed. He's kind of doing things, and he has agency. And Steve Buscemi's running around in his pajamas, and he talks to his wife or whatever, but you never see him do anything except what he like turns the trains back on and things like that. Like, so he doesn't seem to kind of have as much immediate power in that kind of like Game of Thrones way, like I have an army, that kind of thing. But then he does, because he organises all of the coup, and then obviously he just steps in, and
it's about the person with the organisational skills, not necessarily the person with the brute force.
Yeah.
Really. Apart from if you're actually the leader of the actual army, because then we have what's his name, Lucius Malfoy.
Is that him? The Yorkshire guy.
Well, Northern, but
Northern, is that a
Northern Jason
accent?
Isaacs, he's Chekhov, and he's amazing. I really love the choice they made to make him Northern, or I'm not sure if that was him specifically who decided to do that.
That's
just to show, I kind of like how, I don't know, I was kind of like taking the piss out of this in terms of how they're doing Les Miserables on the dramatised version of Les Mis that's not musical on BBC. They're kind of doing something similar to this, where in dramas that are set in another country, that would have been in another language, but it's being adapted, like obviously into English. But they sort of imply regional or class divides by using accents that people have connotations with from the UK. And they always, even if it's like, even if this was an American production, they probably would have gone for British accents, because for some reason that's just seen as a bit more of a historical accent in Western English speaking
We're the
culture.
bad guys. That's Star Wars' fault.
That's also a factor, I guess. They wouldn't have made them have American accents. Yeah, that would make people pretty pissed off, wouldn't it? Yeah, so by making the leader of the general...
Mr. Army Man.
Mr. Army Man.
Mr. Army Man.
I'm not going to pretend
in the face.
that I've done loads of research.
No, it's fine. It's Mr. Army Man.
Mr. Army Man. Yeah, just to show that he's sort of a separate governing body in a way.
Yeah.
By having him have this, like, perform in this significantly different accent. Yeah, they do that in Les Miserables in that they make all the poor people northern. Which, take from that what you will.
Northern social commentary for Northern.
One day more, One day more.
I think it's time for the challenge.
No.
Okay, so
for some context, I fall asleep in every 1 in 3 films that we see. I probably fall asleep through a lot. It's pretty regular.
I'm not counting, but it's anything that is past 10 o'clock. So if we start a film... If we start a film...
I'm a grandmother.
Past, once it's dark outside, pretty much, it's a guarantee that you're going to fall asleep. So, we watched The Meg, which was pretty dumb.
It's a sci-fi thriller about a megalodon.
Yep.
That's it.
Pretty accurate.
Yes. This seems exciting because when I first found out about megalodons when I was about 12, and it was like not walking with dinosaurs, swimming with dinosaurs. Where they CGI them really badly.
Maybe. Walking with dinosaurs also had CGI.
And it showed look, there's a shark, but it was massive.
It's a big shark.
Big shark.
Yep.
Look, guys, big shark. This is how big the jaws are compared to the great white shark. And I was like, ooh, this is cool.
To be fair, if there really was a shark that big, I know...
He eats whales.
He probably would eat whales.
He ate whales when
he ate a whale.
Alive. When megalodons were alive, they ate whales.
Oh.
Because whales were extinct.
But did you also get big whales?
I think there were some whales at that time.
Big whales?
I think they were alive at the time that whales were alive.
Okay.
They're not necessarily the same time
Sharks
as dinosaurs.
are old.
They are old.
Sharks are old. Sharks are very old.
The megalodon is not as far back as most dinosaurs, I think.
Sharks and crocodiles are pretty much they've been that way for a long time. They used to be bigger, but other than that, they're pretty much the same.
Everything used to be bigger and cooler.
Everything used to be bigger and cooler.
And then they just got a bit smaller and a bit more crap.
So, I challenge you to tell me the plot of The Meg.
From what I remember.
From what you remember, and then ultimately all the way up to the ending. I want to see how you think it ended.
Right, I fell asleep about an hour into this movie because I kind of gave up.
Yep.
Because I thought we were nearly done an hour in. How long was the film? Was it 90 minutes? Was it 2 hours?
Normal, dumb film. 2 hours.
The pace, was it? Yeah.
It's 2 hour film.
Yeah, I think an hour in I realised there was another hour to go. And
that is
I
how
kind of
that works for the 2 hour film.
Can we leave off the set? Right.
Yep.
Okay, so this is The Meg.
Uh-huh.
So Jason Statham is under the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Why? We don't know. Does he have a degree? Does he...
He's a rescue man. He's rescuing the guys. At the beginning, they're in a submarine, and he's a scuba guy man, and he shows up to save all the people.
I don't agree.
Do you remember?
No.
Okay, he's a scuba man.
So he wasn't in scuba. He was just in a full plastic suit with a helmet. And with boots and stuff, because that's, I guess, more manly than a scuba outfit. Jason Statham is under the sea. He sees a big shark, and the shark's name is Megan.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh no. And the shark eats all his friends, and it's very sad for him. So he goes back to land. And he is so traumatized that he decides to live out the rest of his life, apparently, in a beer commercial. Because, he just lives out 10 years of his life in a beer advert where he wears lots of Hawaiian shirts on the coast of China, and it's so hot all the time, and like you can tell by the lighting, it's so hot and humid, and
the lighting,
yes,
not the sun. Like,
did I say you could tell about the sun?
No, you said the lighting, but like,
tell about the lighting, the sun. Well, but by like the colour grading and everything, it's like piss yellow.
Okay.
And he's like sweating profusely. And like all these green bottles of beer that he keeps drinking, and always seems so refreshed afterwards. And the bottles are like covered in condensation. It's like, and when some spoilers, so
spoilers for this important moment. For this
no,
important
I mean
film.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Yep. So that all happens. Meanwhile, years later, we don't know how many years. Maybe it tells us, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but. Some people are under the sea again. You think they would have learnt the first time, but no. It's the easy way to avoid these situations in shark movies is just don't go in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Or also that sharks will probably just eat one person and then be full.
Yeah.
Like for weeks. It's fine.
Sharks are warm-blooded, and warm-blooded animals... Great white sharks are warm-blooded.
Really?
Yep. And they need to eat more food.
Do they?
Yep, than cold-blooded animals. So, like, I remember this epic diagram that I saw in a school book one time. So, it had a lion, and a lion has to eat...
And the lion ate the shark.
No.
It's fish.
No, a lion has to eat about 10 times as much food as a crocodile. Because a crocodile is cold-blooded, so they will eat something and then just chill out all day.
Oh, I thought there was a situation with sharks as well. Chill out, yes.
Chill out, because it's cold-blooded.
Very good.
And a lion sleeps around all day and sleeps, shagging all the lady lions.
Yeah. Ah. Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
But he also eats a lot of food because he's warm-blooded. He's warm boy.
Okay.
Lion boy.
Another fun fact about sharks. Great white sharks have never been successfully kept in captivity. Like, at least not for any longer than a month. They just always die. They go insane, or they throw themselves onto the side of the tank and kill themselves. Mm-hmm. They just can't deal with it.
Do you know why that is?
They're used to large territories and the water balance. I don't know, or just spooky reasons.
There's
spooky reasons.
No. This is the thing.
Oh.
So, great white sharks have electromagnetic sensitivity. So they can sense magnetic waves, and they use this for navigation. For when they're migrating, they
get confused by all the sat navs.
So they use the compass. All great white sharks have a compass.
So the pigeons
they just hide
dolphins.
it, so they can use the magnetic waves when they're traveling through the ocean. And now everyone has phones. Phones also have electromagnetic waves. So
when did you read this?
When they are in the tanks and everyone's on their phones, the great white shark gets confused because the electromagnetic radiation from the phones.
And that's how they defeat the megalodon. Everyone texts it.
Everyone texts,
and it's like, ah!
And then it just explodes. And it's a metaphor for how social media is terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is terrible.
Uh-huh.
Actually, they were doing this like back in like the 60s, so I don't think it was phones.
They had bigger phones back in the 60s.
They did have bigger phones.
They did actually have phones in the 60s.
They had a phone in the Shark Tank, which probably wasn't a good idea. It was so it could call its family.
You can actually see it on film. If you go back and watch a film from the 60s, there will occasionally be phones. So there were phones then.
Mobile phones.
Yeah, well, in a sense.
Yeah, they were just the size of a small car.
They could be moved. So they were mobile.
They were cars. They had wheels.
They were cars.
They had cars.
Do you remember phones in cars? Because I remember phones in cars, and I always used to think...
I remember the film Cars.
You remember the film Cars. See, no one should remember the film Cars. But with phones in cars, I was always jealous of those, and I thought, that looks super rad. I want one of those.
Yeah, literal phones with cables in cars, but...
Yeah, and they would just sit there on, like, the armrest bit. But now, that isn't a thing anymore because everyone just has a phone, which is nowhere near.
Which you're not allowed to use in a car.
Which you're not allowed to use in a car. So I don't know where all these cars are with phones still attached to them. I guess you're not allowed to drive those anymore because it's also a phone.
The car itself is just a big phone.
Well, in a sense, yes. So you're not allowed to drive those cars anymore.
Jason Statham
is a bald man.
It's a bald man. It's
He drinks beer and fights sharks.
You have to reset right to the beginning.
Jason Statham is a bald man who fights sharks and drinks beer.
Yes, I'm on his Wikipedia page right now. That's the first line of it.
Yep.
I wrote it. Right. So, some more scientists are under the sea again because they didn't learn the lesson from the first time, but also Jason Statham didn't tell anyone because they're traumatized. And they found a little pocket under the sea. And they're like, wow, what's in this pocket? I bet there's some crazy shit down there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's swim down there in our submarine with the little submarine attached to the bigger submarine and go look it.
Yep.
And they do. And in the little submarine, there's really sassy people. And one of them is Jason Statham's ex-wife. Oh my gosh. What?
That's the noise that ex-wives make.
Rare.
Her
name is Rare.
They learn the noise.
Her name is Rare.
Divorced.
It's Colombian. And
Colombian?
Yes.
Okay.
And they disconnect the little submarine with Rare and the other sassy IT people in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem best qualified for this, but fine. And they go into the little pocket. And then who's there but Megan? Megan's there.
Is it the guy from The Hangover? Is he one of the scientists?
I don't think the shark was in The Hangover.
No, not the shark. The guy...
He's in The Hangover. Is he in it?
It's not him.
No, but he was in the film that we watched recently. He was in...
It's the Hiro Nakamura guy.
Yeah, cut that. It's got the guy in Heroes.
This is the guy.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, he's in Heroes. Yeah, it's got the guy from Heroes. I was sort of buying into that because I saw Crazy Rich Asians and the guy from The Hangover is in that. Briefly, and he's great.
I saw a GIF of him earlier where he was saying how he was at an ATM getting some cash out and he turned around and there was this guy near him in a car with the window half down.
Mm-hmm.
And he was staring at him and he got a bit nervous. He was like, I'm just getting some cash out. Like, what the hell? Like, and he got the money out, turned around and looked at this guy. He was like, what do you want? And he went, Toodaloo, motherfuckers! The thing up, like in The Hangover. And he's like, oh, right, okay. I get that a lot.
It's a reference. That's fine. He doesn't want to kill me.
Yeah.
Right. So, who's that but Megan? And they're like, oh no, not this bitch. And Megan bites the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like, I'm pretending like the thing's shaking.
Yeah.
So this is a problem. And Rare is a little bit hurt or something. So back to base where the people who are in charge of these, I was going to say space explorations, sea explorations,
mm-hmm.
including this Chinese doctor guy and his daughter, who's this hot Chinese actress. And she has a daughter. So there's 3 generations who all work for this sea exploration company. I don't know if the daughter works there, but she's there a lot. I don't know if she goes to school.
She does have free access to this advanced facility and just plays with her shit.
And is just walking around and she has sick light-up shoes. I think she had light-up shoes.
Did she?
I'm remembering her having light-up shoes.
I'm going to say
but
yes.
I don't know if this is something that my brain has just made to make this film better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she just has free reign of this top secret facility, so that's cool.
Like in Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah.
What? Jurassic World 2 with the clone girl, spoiler. The clone girl who walks around in the dinosaur house.
I did not love that film.
Yeah, well, at least you weren't asleep for it.
I'm less likely to fall asleep in the cinema, but yeah. So, they're like, okay, I know the guy we need for this. For some reason, Jason Statham.
Yep.
And so they go to visit him in China, And he's like, hey, guys. And he's like offering them beers, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, thank you. Which makes me think that it's not actually product placement because you never actually see the brand of beers. But they should have done. They missed a trick there because it made me want whatever beer he was having.
I think he opened one of the beers with one of the other beers.
Right, and they're like, please, Jason. And I just like, no. And they're like, please, though. And he's like, And they're like, oh, Roar's down there. And he's like, oh, shit. And it's like, why didn't you bring that up in the first place? I don't know why they specifically need Jason Statham there, but fine. And it's sort of hinted that him and the Chinese actress lady are going to be a thing. And she has a name. It's like Fan Bingbing. That's all I know about her. And I think they were filmed like in separate rooms on different days because you can't really. Right, I need to wrap this up. I'm only like 10 minutes into the film.
We're not very far into this film.
Because this is the most I remember, so I'm going to spend the most time on it. So, like, okay, let's find the shark. Cue me falling asleep. Yep. So this is me making up from this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason goes swimming, and he goes to the shark and says, hey, dude, can I have my wife back, please? And Megan's like, she's my wife now. And, Jason's like, oh shit. And then he swims back into the submarine and is like, we're gonna have to kill her. And they're like, who? And they're like, the shark. And it's like, oh yeah, of course. And based on what you told me when I woke up, they poisoned the shark. Which also probably means that they poisoned a shitload of other fish as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not good.
Because the other shark were eating the shark.
Yeah. So, yeah.
See, the thing about the Meg
That's not good.
is the Meg is actually 2 films.
Mm.
So they kill Meg 1 about halfway through the film.
And I remember, and I woke up, and they were on the boat,
Yep.
and I was thinking, oh, good, it's nearly over.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a big dead shark, like it's not hung upside down, which I think it happens in Jaws, I don't know. But they've sort of got it, like, lying on the boat, and they've got his, like, mouth, like, hinged open, which is, like, a health and safety hazard, because someone could fall over and just, like, ironically die in the shark's mouth, like the dead shark's mouth, and it would be like closed shut or something, and that would be sick. Mm-hmm. They should have done that. Like, if it's going to be a fun, crazy shark movie, they should have someone die via dead shark, like falling into the dead shark's mouth or something.
Right.
You're looking at me like I'm a monster, but I think this is the right way to go.
I think you need to watch more
pleasing.
crazy shark movies for you to be like more versed on that.
More versed on that?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Is it that it's not crazy enough?
I don't know, like, they get pretty crazy.
I just think it would have been an improvement if that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like all congratulating themselves on catching the shark, and then you think, oh, this means it's not all over because one of these guys is getting a bit smug, and it's the guy from The Office who had his office equipment put in jelly. It's that actor.
What?
You know, in The American Office?
No.
Well, you've already lost.
I'm aware of a show called The Office.
It was the character in The Office whose office equipment as a prank was put in jelly.
Was it then returned to the office whilst also being in jelly?
He would like open his office drawer and his stapler was just in the thing of jelly.
Who would want to eat that then?
No, it's just like he can't get a stapler now and he's pissed off.
Why can't he just reach into the jelly?
Well, he needs to. But he's pissed off about it because he's very like possessive over his office equipment. So this guy.
So what's really happened there is that
this is like the first episode of The Office. Like both the American and the UK version do the jelly thing.
Oh, okay.
And the Americans say jelly.
That's because the American Office is actually based on the UK Office.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know this.
It wasn't just a separate show with the same name.
I thought it was just one of those like massive like universe bending coincidences.
No,
they just happened to make the same show.
They made one and
they were like, what? I never heard of that.
Yeah, they made one and they were like, this is a great idea, and it was in English, and then they made an American one in American.
And then Steve Carell came to the UK and murdered Ricky Gervais so he could have a successful career.
And then wore his skin, and then he is now.
And then like made some bad tweets.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Has Ricky Gervais made bad tweets?
Not really.
He's made kind of arsey tweets.
Yeah, he's just not funny anymore.
Oh,
Was
okay.
he ever? Was he ever?
He's good at insulting people at award ceremonies.
Well, yeah. It wasn't even that bad. Like, that was the Golden Globes thing that got really controversial, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's a bigger shark.
There's
there's Megan 2. And
Yeah.
Megan wants revenge.
It's actually the
and
sequel.
she's like...
At that point, they actually...
It just becomes the sequel, because they're like, fuck it.
They originally filmed it as 2 films. And they were like, we're just gonna scooch that in there to do that, because people thought it was too boring.
And it was, because I fell asleep.
So they had to have 2 sharks.
And Megan 2 is way better than Megan the First.
Slightly bigger.
She's slightly bigger.
Yep.
And she will decimate your beach party. In that there's this big beach sort of situation happening in China. Everyone has floaties, and I don't know if it's some sort of statement against plastic pollution in our oceans.
I made
because
this joke.
literally everyone,
Everyone's in a floaty.
Literally every single person in the sea has a floaty on.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are in those massive sphere things that you run in, that you can run on water in, which look great.
Zorb.
Zob.
I saw a Zorb at a festival. It was very cool. They ran out over
They
the
just
crowd.
mow people down.
No,
That's the thing. It's kind of dangerous to have that on.
It's better than crowd
in the
surfing.
sea.
Oh yeah, better.
But
yeah.
because you could drown people by doing that very easily.
Also at sea, you might get blown out to sea by the wind.
Well, that's just a. So the shark obviously goes after the Zob guy because it just looks like this guy in a massive hamster ball, and he bites through the Zob and he eats him, and it's great. And yeah, like the shark just like commits a massive massacre on this beach, and just like, this is more like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they do to that. They probably explode him or something. And like Jason Statham says, I'm so great. I am the master of the sharks. I got my wife back. She's been impaled, but I'm sure she'll be fine. But he also gets with the Chinese actress, and it's sort of a sister wives situation. And he adopts the daughter with the light up shoes. Yeah. The end.
Wait, how did the shark die?
Exploded.
Exploded. Okay. They always explode.
Yeah.
Why don't they get eaten by another shark?
Because then you have another shark to deal with, and then you've got to kill that
There's
shark.
There's always a bigger fish, so why didn't that shark just eat
Is that the
the
phrase?
Shark?
I thought it just was that there are plenty more fish.
There's always a bigger fish.
Is that it?
There's always a bigger fish.
And there's always a bigger boat.
And fish.
And boat.
Okay.
And fish. And boat. And fish. So yeah, that was my very accurate retelling of The Meg. 2018.
So, that pretty much wraps up the first podcast. Well done if you made it this far. We're planning to do some more of these in the future, as well as some other, film reviews and other stuff on this channel. So subscribe for more excellent content. But
Yay.
As for now, thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye!